So recently I picked up this Smash Brothers new 3DS over on eBay, and it kind of put me on a bit of a 3DS game kick. I wanted to obviously play a game to try it out on the new system, and you know, I am a huge Kirby fan, so I fell back on Kirby Triple Deluxe. This is a game that I have played quite a bit over the course of my lifetime. It came out around, I was around 10 years old when it came out. I was super excited for it back in the day. But the wait was unreal, because at this point I was already online, I was already following all the news cycles, so I knew that the game had come out, it was going to come out in Japan. I think it was January 2014. But it didn't come out over here in Canada until May. I was literally like, the game is already out, why don't we have a release date yet, grr, and 5 months later, after I'd already spoiled myself rotten on like everything about the game, it finally dropped, and I was super excited to play it. And back then I really liked it, but over time I kind of found it to be a weaker, not a bad entry, not even, still one of the best games on 3DS if I'm being honest, but in comparison to the rest of the Kirby series, which I do hold in very high regard, especially the newer games, I kind of find it a bit lacking. The main gimmick, I remember being very bored by the puzzles. A lot of them just involved you using this new ability he had called the Hypernova to just move things along. You hold button, walk back, let go. That was it. And it was kind of annoying. But, you know, I thought, okay, let's play the game again. Let's see if Kirby Triple Deluxe still holds up. It's G from the corner. What'd you expect? Today we're going to be doing another legacy review on Kirby Triple Deluxe. So, does it hold up? Let's get right into it. So, I mean, I guess I should start with the plot. It's not really anything to write home about, obviously. It is a Kirby game. Kirby sleep, he wake up, and then house in sky. Oh no, guy kidnapped King Dedede. I guess he's not the villain this time. Go chase after him. And that's all the setup you really need for this game. Immediately playing the game again, I got all the warm and fuzzy feels. These games just always make me feel happy. You know, the visuals, the music, just everything, the gameplay feel. I always like, especially in the more recent, this game's almost 10 years old, but ever since Return to Dreamland, the controls in these games have always just felt so tight to me and just so welcoming. And honestly, you know, playing it at first, super fun. But after a few areas, you know, just as I was thinking, I remember, as this is a criticism I could probably tell you like 5-6 years ago, the game kind of falls off. After I think the third area, it falls off for a little bit before picking back up kind of around the end, but then they start to reuse a lot of content. It's really weird. Like, the game starts off and I'm just so into it. I'm enthralled by the music, the locales, the level gimmicks. It's all so much fun. But then towards the end, because the game has to obviously ramp up in difficulty, its way of doing that is making the puzzles more tedious. I guess I should probably get into my big gripe with this game, the Hypernova ability. The whole gimmick of the game is that Kirby can get this fruit, which makes him into a walking seizure, and now he can do a super suck. Instead of just inhaling enemies, he can inhale massive objects, and this is often used for puzzle segments throughout the levels. You will find one of these just growing out of the ground, you'll get the fruit, and then boom, you're playing as Kirby and you're doing all this crazy stuff. And a lot of the puzzles just kind of amounts to, hey, there's a thing, move the thing, and you move the thing by holding B and walking back. There are so many puzzles that are like that. Oh, but they have the other type of puzzle, which is wait for thing to shoot thing, hold B, suck it up, press B, and make sure you did it really early because the timing is very slow. The puzzles in the game are kind of just variations of this, and they're all very cute. You know, it's very nice eye candy. You know, I describe it like it's the same thing, but sometimes, you know, that puzzle will involve a mole throwing a block at you, and you have to spit it back out at him. Sometimes it is a tower of Waddle Dees on like some wooden stones, and some wooden logs, and you gotta shoot the logs off. Sometimes you'll have to move a machine that breaks ice to break a certain block of ice. Sometimes you'll have to move a snowman's head to bring it on top of another snowman. And then sometimes they'll make you fight bosses, which is just boss tries to attack you, fails miserably, press B. I find a lot of these puzzles to be, of course, you know, on the first time around, they're very visually appealing, they're very enticing, but after you've done it once, you've done it every time. It's really boring and tedious, and the music is kind of just, it's like, it plays the same song every time throughout the game, but, you know, it's not awful or anything. It's not like ear grating, but it just kind of settles in this sort of mundanity of the whole thing. But aside from that, the game is tons of fun. Kirby has a bunch of new abilities in this game. There's this beetle ability that lets him wear this sort of horn helmet that allows him to skewer his enemies. There's a bell ability that lets you bash bells into their heads, and you know, it makes a little jingling noise as you're attacking them. There's this circus ability where he can like go on trampolines, bounce on balls, and make inflate balloons. And the best one by far, Archer, as it's known in Japan, Sniper. So Sniper Kirby, basically he gets a bow and arrow and it can shoot a projectile, which if charged is the most powerful projectile in the game. Also, if you hold down, he crouches behind this very cute wooden diorama. There's a bunch of different ones, and if you don't move, you are impervious to any damage in the game. It is busted as hell. It's about as busted as certain abilities like Spark and Copy in Kirby Superstar Ultra and Return to Dreamland are. It's super fun to mess around with. The game also has quite a few side modes, I should probably mention. There's Kirby Fighters, which is Kirby Smash Bros, although there have been multiple versions, iterations of this concept. There's one on Switch, Kirby Fighters 2, which I think is super fun, so there's not really much reason to go back to this. And DDD's Drum Dash, which is sort of this rhythm game where you bounce on drums as DDD, and it's also pretty fun. There's also some post-game modes, like, of course, the usual Kirby boss rushes, and a rerun mode where you play as DDD and you try to get through the game as fast as possible. And you know what? I guess I should probably talk about that now. The bosses. Okay, I love the bosses and I hate the bosses in this game. See, the whole gimmick of this game, I should have probably said this earlier, is that Kirby can jump between the foreground and background. I guess, you know, to emphasize the 3D, which I'll admit I never actually tried before, but the 3D is very, very cool in this game because of how the way the stages are built. There's multiple layers and you can clearly, you know, there's that effect where it looks like Kirby's farther into the system, you know, even though it's just a flat screen. And it honestly looks really, really cool. Especially on the new 3DS with the face tracking 3D. I've never actually owned a new 3DS, so that was pretty cool to witness. But yeah, because of that, a lot of the bosses will often make use of the background as well. And by make use of the background, I mean run away like little pansies into the background. There are some bosses that do this better than others, you know, like the first boss, Wispy, obviously he's not going to be too much of a hassle. He'll just jump to the background halfway through and you can attack him whenever he attacks you, which is by sprouting his vines. You can just attack his roots and vines, so, you know, makes sense. But some of them, the 4th and 5th boss, specifically the alternate forms of those bosses that you fight in the True Arena and the King Dedede speedrun mode, those bosses can go F right off because, oh my goodness, they are such a pain because all they do, they just camp in the background. They literally just go hide in the background and then they come out every once in a while. Pyrobit, the 5th boss, literally that is his gimmick. He goes in the background and when he comes to the foreground, it's like, okay, you have to hit him. Oh, you missed your chance. Okay, now you have to wait for him to do his attacks again. It's so obnoxious. The final boss. Somehow the final boss of the game is less intrusive about this than that. And the post-game bosses too. It's really weird and confusing. I genuinely don't understand why they went so hard on it. But you know what? Aside from that, most of the bosses are super fun. The DDD mode even has some extra, well, one extra boss. Technically two. Depends on how you look at it. But yeah, no. The game, it's a Kirby game. If you like Kirby games, you'll like this one. Maybe I'd say it's a good beginner one because it isn't the best one, but it is very good. But I honestly don't regret going back to it. I like it a little more than I did before. It was just nice playing it, honestly. But you know, it's not the best Kirby game. Not the best one in 3DS. Robot is that's Planet Robot. Easy win for the best one in 3DS. But yeah, no. I hope you guys enjoyed this legacy review of Kirby Triple Deluxe, and keep yourselves cornered for more reviews, coverage, vlogs, anything of the sort. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.